Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol-Free Marriage Podcast, episode 11 for June 13th, 2022. On this week's episode, of course, your drink of the week, along with a great interview with Cole Harvey.
Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
Recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois, you're listening to the Alcohol-Free Marriage Podcast with Matt and Amy. Come and learn and share a journey with two former craft beer enthusiasts who went from daily drinkers to teetotalers and basically never lost their love for their life together.
Hey, a freak show!
Well, hello there, childrens. Welcome back to the freak show that is the Alcohol-Free Marriage Podcast. I am Matt, along with the always lovely Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
I am awesome.
Of course you are.
How are you?
I am here. I'm present.
You know?
A little chilly, but I'm okay.
It is chilly down here in this...
in the dungeon of the studio is.
The basement.
Yes.
But
yes, another interview week. So it's all this out of orderness we do, where we interview, then we come back and tell you how excited we are about the interview.
You're giving away the secret.
The secret. I know, the secret sauce that is the Alcohol-Free Marriage Podcast.
Yes.
Yes. So, Amy, let's get into... Do I have it? Why do I always think...
You put, how was the week?
I know, but
So how was your week?
No.
You're just jumping over. You've jumped over.
I do.
You're jumping over to the drink. Is that what you're going to do now?
The week was the week. I don't know.
No, this week has been, we're settling into the summer.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're kind of starting to settle into that summer routine.
Got the kid home from school,
Yeah.
doing his internship.
Maggie is now out of school, out of,
doing the work thing.
Yes, she's full on working more than
Right.
she did already, but she already worked a lot. But so she's doing that.
It's the summertime.
And then, we've just kind of gotten into the flow of summer.
I know. The world's moving again, so my studio business is kicked up, so very busy
Which is
over there.
great.
That is nice. Yeah. Pandemic's kind of knocked those things down, you know?
And I'm wrapping up my first 6-week program with my friend and fellow coach, Jenny Jones. And we're wrapping that up and going to be starting a new one, hopefully in July. And it is, examining your relationship with alcohol. So if
Why
you're
are you
interested,
examining my relationship? Why are you looking at me?
anyways, or your relationship, anyone's relationship, however you want to do that. But we're really excited about that. And also, I'll be mentoring in the live alcohol experiment that starts in July 1st. I will be a mentor in that program as well. So if you're interested, we will put the link in the bio, or not the bio,
the show notes.
The show notes.
There you go. Link down below.
I'm too
probably.
used to always typing link in bio. Link in bio.
There's probably a bio somewhere too.
Yes, but so I'll be doing that as well.
Or people could just always email amy@joyontheotherside.com.
You can.
There you go.
Can
Get
do
special
that.
one-on-one.
You can go
If you're
to.
not down with the group activities like me, I'm not.
I know, but the group, as you'll hear, that in our interview, connection is really the key when you quit drinking.
That's true.
Because you feel like you're alone.
That is true.
You really feel like you're the only one. I'm the only one quitting.
Yes.
So anyways, very excited about all of that. And I just did a new blog about, I think it was a week ago.
A coach, a podcaster.
Trying to keep it all organized, trying to get out there.
Influencer?
I'm not really an influencer, but I did do a funny reel.
If we were really influencers, these drinks of the week would be sponsored for real. Not
Yes,
just,
but they're not.
They're not.
But maybe someday.
Someday.
Yeah,
Why would they buy the cow when they get the milk for free? So.
True story.
So what is your drink of the week there, Coach Amy?
It is the H2O Sonoma Soft Seltzer, and it is Love of the Vine Rosé.
As they say on their website, it's a 0.0 beverage. It's a thirst-quenching, sparkling refreshment,
Can
lightly
they see
infused with 100% California wine. H2OSeltzer.com.
Or do you want to put
Have
that
you not
on
ever
the-
watched the podcast on the video? I put it up on the screen so they can see it. They don't have to
Oh,
see
yeah,
your-
and it goes... zoom.
They don't have to look at your can that I secretly dug out of the garbage because you drank it yesterday, and it was the last one we had.
But it is really good.
Speaking of behind the curtain.
Very good. And I can't wait to try that.
Mine is a limited edition, not me trying to sell it. That's literally what their website says. From Bravus, it's their strawberry blonde. Would you like to try it? You can try it.
You've already opened it?
Yeah, I opened it. I'm going to drink it.
Ooh.
No alcohol. You can drink it any time of the day, Amy. That's the beautiful part.
Yeah, that mindset.
Yeah.
Still got to work on that mindset.
Yep.
I can't drink before noon.
You can drink strawberry flavored.
Who made that
Beer water.
rule anyways? Because it's...
I don't know. We drank before noon all the time, but there you go. How do you like that, Amy? The strawberry blonde.
I didn't drink before noon all the time.
How do you like the strawberry blonde?
I did like that. That is good.
I was just riffing while you were trying to finish drinking.
That's good stuff. That is really good.
Good stuff, children. Good stuff. All right. And don't forget, feedback at afmpodcast.com if you want to feedback.
Is there a problem when you think, would that taste good on ice cream?
I don't know.
I know the stouts would.
I don't know. Maybe should we do the Sunday of the week? Welcome to your Monday podcast for the Sunday of the week.
I don't know.
I like how that works.
So,
out.
anyways,
All right, Amy. Well, let's let our fine our fine feathered listeners. I don't know what I was saying. Let's let our listeners get to the interview with Cole,
all right.
Harvey, and see what awesomeness he has to share with us. Cole and Amy and Matt, take it away.
Hello, everybody, and I want to introduce you to a very dear friend of mine. This is Mr. Cole Harvey, and he and I met last year when we went through our This Naked Mind training together. I'm going to give you a quick little bio here. Cole was an avid and heavy drinker for years. Cole knows the dark places where drinking can take us. He felt called to be a guide to those who seek a different path out of the darkness after he emerged from his own wayward wanderings in the whiskey wilderness 2.5 years ago. In 2021, Cole became a certified This Naked Mind coach and is now assisting those who wish to change their relationship with alcohol and reconnect to meaning and purpose in their own life. All right. So, Cole, thank you so much for being on here with us. And I'm going to just kind of ask you, where did this all start with you, with your drinking career, I guess?
Yeah, and quite a career it was. I think I didn't really drink much at all as a teen. I didn't drink at all as a teenager. There was a lot of religious reasons, and obviously I was like terrified of my parents and them finding out. I started drinking probably around 20 years old. I think I remember the first time I ever got drunk. I was probably about 20, and I realize now, like looking back, like something should have clicked there, because when the first time I got drunk, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense, And that was kind of like knowing now what I know is like, that's kind of a red flag there, bro, but that was about 20 years old, and I didn't start drinking heavily until a few years after that. And I think, looking back on it, I was probably dealing with some issues. My father had died when I was 18, like a week or so after my 18th birthday. And I was away in college. I was a student athlete. So there's a lot of that kind of stress. And then the stress of that death, and then all that unprocessed grief and things like that. And, fast forward a couple of years. So I'm like 20 years old, and, I had my first drink, and I was like, wow, this is really helping some things here, quote unquote helping. Mm-hmm. And then a few years later on, I was working in restaurants and kitchens and things like that in an industry that really almost encourages alcohol. And I think back, like, subconsciously, was I drawn there because of that, or, but there was a lot of things that drew me to that industry, but definitely that hard partying atmosphere, and that it kind of fosters, So I did that for a long time. I worked seasonal gigs all over the country, working in, lodges, dude ranches, restaurants, things like that, mainly as a cook. I did some other jobs here and there, basically everything in the hospitality industry. And, in those places, you're always meeting new people, you're having new friends, and a lot of times alcohol is involved with that. And I was already drinking, and it was kind of like, for me, it was kind of a social thing, but it was also like a point of pride. I think I staked some sort of, manliness to it, how much I could drink, because I could drink a lot. And, how I would show up. I never missed a day of work because I was drunk or hungover. And I think I took a lot of pride in that too, just some twisted point of pride. And so I just kept in that line of work for a long time, and I just kept drinking. And then it got, you drink more and more over a longer period of time. Like, it's just going to happen this way. And I remember probably, 6-7 years ago, somewhere in there, I was like, this is taking a toll. And, I was getting, there would be times where, in seasonal gigs, you're off for a long time. You might not have a job for a couple months or longer. And there's a lot of those times I found myself wherever I was. Sometimes I'd be back in Tennessee, just kind of laying low for a bit. And, I remember a number of times waking up, hungover, obviously, horrible night's sleep and that kind of stuff from drinking the night before. And then at like 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm cracking open a bottle of wine and sitting there and watching, like, Anthony Bourdain for hours. And then after the wine bottle's gone, open up a bottle of whiskey and drink that. And then that's all evening. And like, it was at that kind of point. And I remember being with some friends one day, and I expressed concern, like, for the first time ever amongst my peer group. It's like, I think I got a problem. I think something's wrong here, and I was like, this is what I'm doing, 10 o'clock every morning. Like, I'm having drinks and stuff. And bless their hearts, they were like, no, man, you're fine. You don't have a problem, that kind of thing. And I look back at it, maybe they were they didn't want to look at their own stuff, and they were trying to comfort me as well as comfort themselves. And I get it. I understand that now. But, from that point, that was still like 5 years ago, and as we know, like, it takes, that's about the average between saying it to yourself, like, I got a problem here, to actually quitting. That was about how long it took. I was probably a little over that average, to be honest with you. And then, it got really bad towards the end, where I was drinking a lot. Like, however much people think in their minds is an alarming amount, like, I was well beyond that. And 2018, 2019 were kind of the worst years. I hit like a really bad, depression slump, as alcohol will do. It had gotten to that point where, it was causing the problems. It was, I wasn't enjoying it anymore, but I, like, kind of needed it, kind of thing. And I was beating myself up about it. I was just in a bad, dark place, and I was really low. Like, at 2019, I was at my worst, like, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all that. I was like, I had gotten up to about 300 pounds, and I was drinking all the time. And then in like November of 2019, I was in Wyoming, and I'd left there, and I had moved to Washington State. And I remember I was sleeping in my truck. I got it all kind of rigged out for camping and that kind of stuff. And I was parked in my friend's driveway, and I had kept like a 24-ounce beer saved, right? And I woke up that morning, and I just raised the back hatch, and I was just sitting up in the back of my rig, and it was like 8 in the morning, and I just cracked that beer open, and I was sitting there drinking it like I had to have it, kind of thing. And I was like, this has got to stop. And it was like that line in Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying. And that's kind of to the point where I'd come to. And I was like, okay, I'm stopping. I'm going to do a year. Right. And I had previously tried before, like 30 days here, 30 days there, sober October, dry January, that kind of stuff. sometimes I would complete it. I'd get through it. Sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I'd make it, 5, 10, 12 days in and then be like, screw it. I'm going to drink. I don't care. And, but the times I did make it through, I wasn't learning anything.
And
it was basically
white knuckling it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It was just willpower. The whole time I was drinking like tea or whatever, I was, it was at the forefront of my mind, like this isn't booze, this isn't booze, this isn't booze, and then like, just wait till the 30th. The 30th is coming up, 31st or whatever. And so I never learned anything at all. I just like proved to myself that I could go 30 days. It was more like a pat on the back, like, see, you don't have a problem. You can go 30 days with no problem, mm-hmm. right? But obviously there wasn't nothing was happening there. So I told myself in November, like just leaning up in the back of my truck, sitting there like on this rainy, Pacific Northwest day, that I was like, I got to do a year if this is going to count, and that was like mid-November. So I said, okay, January 1st, 2020, like, cliche New Year's Day resolution. I was like, that's far enough out. That gives me enough time to prepare for this, and, knowing now, like through, Annie Grace and This Naked Mind, like I was doing a pause essentially. Yeah. I didn't even know that was what I was doing, but I was like, I'm going to stop trying to stop. I'm going to stop beating myself up about this. I'm going to drink. I know this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep on drinking the way I'm doing. But the thing was, like, the caveat there was like, every time I drank, I told myself, hey man, January 1st, this stops. And just know that's happening. Like, so every time I went to the bar, every time I would be, sitting at the house, or every time, having some drinks at the brewery with coworkers or something, I'm just mentally telling myself as I'm pouring back the beer or whatever I was drinking, like, this is stopping January 1st. January 1st, you aren't going to do this. It's going to be a whole year. You got 1 year, man. This is what's happening. And that came along January 1st. I remember like New Year's Eve, I was sitting at the bar. I took a picture of my bar tab, which was as long as my arm, and a picture of my last drink. And I was like, I'm just going to make this last drink just a terrible whatever. And it was just a Rainier beer, just very basic, PBR of the Northwest kind of thing. And I took a picture of all that, and I was like, okay, in 1 year, if you're back here, have that drink. So I didn't put any pressure on myself to like, this is forever, right? And I was like, you just take this year, get your mind right, figure out, just reassess your relationship with alcohol, and just step into this. I guess it was kind of like stepping into this avatar of somebody that doesn't drink. And that's 6 weeks I was telling myself that. I was like, you're just going to be somebody who doesn't drink. You're not going to be somebody who's sober, or you're not going to be somebody who's stopping drinking or had a problem with drinking. You're just going to be a person who doesn't drink now.
And where did that come from?
I think I got that idea from, there's a woman named Jessa Reed, and she's had a couple of podcasts. One of them was called The Mormon and the Meth Head. The other one was called Sober-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's a comedian. Like, she's out there, and she's like very woo too. Like that, I vibed with her on some stuff. She was an addicted meth head for a long time, and smoked cigarettes and stuff. She's like, I just said I'm gonna be somebody who doesn't do meth anymore. That's all it is to it. Like, I'm not that, and I was like, okay, I can step into that mentality. And January 1st, I was like, okay, I'm somebody who doesn't drink now. What do they do? So like, I had to.
You have a lot of free time now, don't you?
Yeah, I got to figure out what people who don't drink do. Like, oh, they go on hikes, they take care of themselves, they read books, they have a lot of free time. They find interests, they have hobbies. Like, okay, I can do that. And so I just stepped into that, and I didn't change up my routine at all. I didn't like shy away from alcohol. I mean, like, my routine at that time, me and my friend, we ran this restaurant together, and as soon as the restaurant closed down, it was like a lunch thing. So like at 1, 2 in the afternoon, we'd close down and go straight to the brewery, and then from the brewery we'd go to the bar. And so I just stayed on that routine. But I went to the brewery, and I was having like bubblies, that's the only non-alcoholic thing they had. And so I sat there and drank those. He drank his beer. We'd go over to the bar, and I have club soda lime. and drink those and hang out. And then I go home. And that was January 1st. That was 18 hours in.
Wow.
Not drinking. And I just stayed with that. And I just started walking and stretching and listening to podcasts. And that was kind of how, that was the first incremental kind of changes. And I just started these small incremental steps along the way. And that's where it started. And that was January, it was 2020. And then the pandemic hit and I was like, oh, this is even better. Now I can have reason to dive into who I am and find out more. And I got a lot of free time now. And,
Sure.
So yeah, that happened. And then somewhere around mid 2020, I was trying to figure out okay, now what I want to do. I know I don't want to continue in the hospitality industry. That's just kind of a dead end kind of thing. And, what do I want to do? I was looking at trade schools. I was doing all kind of stuff, and trying to figure out some stuff. And talking with a buddy of mine one day, and he's like, you like to have conversations. You love talking with people. You love changing your point of view and changing other people's point of view. He's like, maybe you should get into to coaching or something like that. And I was like, I'd kind of been leaning into that. So the first place I looked up was Andy Grace. And that for the 2020 year or whatever was booked full. Right. And so I was kind of bummed about that. And then I looked for some other places, but I just kind of put it out of my mind for a while. And, but I discovered This Naked Mind 3 months into not drinking. So yeah, March of 2020, it was because the pandemic was going on and people on Instagram, a lot of people were doing lives every day and that kind of stuff. And I'd just seen the book scrolling through Instagram or something like that. Somebody recommended it. And I basically just bought it sight unseen and I read it and it was it just clicked. It's this is how I've felt about drinking.
Yep.
And I just never could, I just couldn't explain it to myself or to somebody else. It's oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. These are the words that I've had in my head. And I was like, this makes perfect sense. And so I just started kind of doing that. I was already on that path anyway. And I looked up for her training. It was booked. And then I moved to Colorado and I was still working, doing seasonal stuff. And I remember writing in my journal one day, the whole time I was trying to find a good coaching course or what have you. And I couldn't find one. Nothing was resonating, and I was like, man, I really want to do something with alcohol, that's kind of my area of expertise, really good at booze.
Yeah.
And
I'm a trained expert.
Yeah. And so I was so frustrated that day. I was sitting there and I was writing and I was just like, God, I can't find anything. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to do it, how to get there. And I just released it. I was like, you know what? Fine. Universe, cosmos, source, whatever you want to call it. I was like, I'm done thinking about this. Just whatever happens. And the next day, I wake up, I'm scrolling through my emails, and I had subscribed to Annie's, email list, and it says 2021 applications for coaching certification now open. I was like, that's literally my son. I was like, there it is. I don't synchronicity. That ain't coincidence. That's so awesome. There it is. And so I just immediately filled out the application, signed up. And, I think I talked to Scott a couple days after that. So this was December of 2020. And I'd already signed up. I was ready to go. So I was chomping at the bits for 3 months, until
That's
we
awesome.
started. Yeah. And so that led me to here. And so, did the course, met a lot of great folks.
Yeah.
And here I am now. I taught in the last May live alcohol experiment. I was one of the coaches for that. And I'm going to be a coach in the August Path group.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I got to, sign a couple clients and that's all going well. So yeah, it's here I am now. A few, one change there, and then a few small incremental kind of changes, and your life can shift rapidly and can be in a much different place than you were.
Now
so
you're on the globally famous Alcohol-Free Marriage podcast. So I mean,
absolutely,
you've reached the pinnacle of anything. I mean, geez.
yeah. And hey, I'm doing my first podcast, so here it is.
All the firsts.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, what do your friends and family think about this transformation?
Yeah, I've had some of my friends were like, "Yeah, man, of course you did. Like, good job." And my brother was talking to me a few months ago. He's like, the fact that you quit drinking, he's like, that doesn't surprise me. He's like, I knew that was something you could do. He's like, but you got all this other stuff going on now, and like that, it's kind of that first domino type idea. But yeah, I've had a number of friends, people, acquaintances, people like I went to high school with or whatever, like I hadn't talked to in a long time, have reached out to me and kind of sharing their own stories or asking questions and that kind of stuff, and that's been well received. It's cool. I've really kind of enjoyed like getting back in touch with some people.
Hey, Cole, I'm curious. You mentioned, and I think all of us probably have been down the road of, you mentioned what do people do who don't drink? It's like, oh, well, I have all this free time. What kind of actual activities did you kind of seek out? I mean, you said you kept to some of the things you were doing, like the brew houses, those type of things, which is one of the passions of mine, and that's why I push for them to carry non-alcoholic options beyond the bubbly you mentioned. But what other activities did you, since you had all this free time, did you start taking up? Anything new or just expanding on what you liked already?
Yeah, definitely a little bit of both. And just like to put it out there too, like disclaimer, like a lot of folks, there's like everybody's journey is different, right? And so I didn't have a problem being around alcohol. Some people do, and it's a trigger. And so if you have that, if you know that that's going to be a problem, don't go out to bars,
right.
And so follow your own plan, right? And so I wouldn't recommend that to everybody. But yeah, my first initial thing was to just start walking because I got a lot of time. And so I just started walking. I was listening to podcasts while I'd be walking around and come back and stretch. And then from there, I just started doing some meditation and kind of expanding on that and different styles of meditation. And that started off, like 5 minutes to begin with, and then kind of ease into it. And before long, at one point I was doing like 30 minutes a day and that kind of thing. Breath work was another area that I explored and really liked. Started kind of with Wim Hof. I don't know if y'all are, he's Wim Hof's my spirit animal. I love this man. But I was doing his breathing techniques for a long time. And before long, like, especially during the pandemic, like I had a morning routine that, stretched for like 2 or 3 hours, once everything kind of built up. I didn't automatically start doing it that way.
Sure.
But, adding a few things here and there, incorporating some stuff and playing around with different things. And it was like, first it started with walking and stretching, and then that kind of built into going to like working out a little harder and, lifting weights and things like that. Meditation expanded, breath work kind of expanded, and exploring other avenues. Like I really got into different areas of, psychology and Jungian psychology. I got into more like woo-woo stuff and that kind of thing. Just areas of interest that, captivated me, and other things that I may not have thought about before. But, it's like a rabbit hole. As you start branching off into these other things as you have the time, and then your mind starts latching on to other stuff. I mean, your brain wants challenges. It wants to learn. It wants to expand and grow. And so it'll just start latching on to all kind of stuff. Yeah. And I just, for that year and a half or so, I mean, I was a sponge. I just soaked up anything. Right.
Yeah. What about journaling? I know that we've talked about that in our coaches training, and I know on your website you also have like a journaling course, I think, and I know that has that been instrumental in in this change?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, I used to journal back, off and on for decades. I mean, I even have some journals saved from when I was probably in like 6th grade,
Wow.
It wasn't like, I'd maybe do it for like a month or two or, something like that and then stop. But for a long time, it was basically just a recording of the day. It was just like a daily kind of thing of like, oh, this happened and and dear diary and, that kind of thing. But almost at the same time that I kind of discovered this Naked Mind, I came across another guy. His name's Eric Godsey. And he was, he had a lot of different kind of things going on. He was doing those lives and Q&As and stuff like that on Instagram. And he kind of got me into like Jungian psychology and exploring dreams and myths and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of his stuff was based around journaling too. It's like, I need to pick that habit back up. So yeah, it was like March of 2020. I just found like a single subject college rule notebook lying around my house. It was empty. And I just started writing, and I said, okay, I'm going to fill this up, and I'm not going to miss a day until this thing is filled up, and then I'll see how that went. And I mean, it was so cathartic, therapeutic, and just, I mean, that really helped me dig deeper into who I am and why I was drinking and, what's going on in my mind and how do I interpret the world and, how does the world interpret me and that kind of thing. So that was a huge part of my exploration, and something I still do today, over 2 years on now. And I find it, I mean, like, probably that was my best tool, as a matter of fact. And the one thing that really, I mean, it gets you on in there, because I did like he had done. And he kind of got that from The Artist's Way. Julia Cameron is it's like a 12-week book course kind of thing. And it's just stream of consciousness. Don't pick the pen up off the paper. Brutal honesty with yourself. Whatever comes up, just write it down. And, at first you would there's a lot of mine that started off with like, I don't know what to write today. And that's in my head. That's what I write down. It's like, well, this is stupid. And like, okay, well, this is stupid. And then it's just whatever is in the old noggin, just keep on writing. And then you'll get into some deep stuff and like ask yourself questions and feel like write down what's responding, and talk to that part of you that's responding and where is it coming from? And then like sometimes I'd give it names and give it a description, and like when it comes up, I can dialogue with it. And so like these different parts of myself, that really helped kind of uncover more layers and more personalities within, and who's talking and where is it coming from and how long have they been around. And it's intense too. Like it's not like a dear diary. Today Jamie told me that I look fat in my new sandals or whatever, it's like, it was some pretty intense work. And
well, I don't know if this line came from your journaling or just from being a creative person that you are. But going through your website, I saw this line that really kind of spoke to me, and it probably speaks to a lot of people. And I think it sums it up in a perfect sentence of, I was lost in a hellish prison of my own making. I think that really sums up how a lot of us feel before we quit, of like, we're doing this to ourselves, right? I always would say to myself, it's like, I don't want to die at my own hand, right? So where did that kind of line and thought process come from? I mean, what were you kind of thinking about that?
Yeah, I was, I'd done that to myself. Like you said, it was this place I'd put myself, and this through like just this reciprocal narrowing of thought and of negativity and self-loathing and, just a twisted view of the world. And I just had locked myself into this place where I didn't think I could get out of, maybe, or that I honestly probably thought I deserved to be, and especially toward the end of when I finally quit drinking, I knew it was like, I could see the toll it was taking and felt the toll it was taking. And, probably at one point I was like, I deserve this kind of thing. It's like, it's more like punishment, and I deserve it. And that's fine. I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. And so, yeah, it was just, that was where I talked myself into and had believed where I was. And I didn't have any love for myself or believe in myself, or I was also trapped in like a comparison thing too, seeing people like my age, like have their stuff together. And I was like, where am I? What am I doing? So it was kind of a midlife-ish crisis as well. No meaning, I had no meaning. I had no drive, no aim, no purpose. And, the thing about that prison though, and a lot of us are in it and have made it, but there aren't any locks on it.
Great point.
True.
Yeah.
So true.
We think that it's locked, but all you got to do is open the door. Like there aren't any guards in there, and there aren't any, there's no locks on those doors. You can just walk out of it.
Yeah. And then can you tell us about your business, Maps to Meaning, and why did you come up with that name as well?
Yeah, I realized that I'd like subconsciously heard about, it probably came from Jordan Peterson, and that was like a subconscious thing. And I've only recently in the past, year or so really kind of, started to listen to his podcast a little more and that kind of thing. But he had a book, Maps of Meaning, and I think that's where it came from. But I was just playing around with different words and different names and logos, and that one was kind of the one that just popped out at me because for me it was, I've been into hiking and being outside nature, like all these places I lived and worked. I mean, it was in remote wilderness areas, Alaska, Wyoming, Washington, all those places, Maine. And being in nature is extremely therapeutic, and it just reconnects you back to the earth, back to yourself. Sit alone quietly in the wilderness for a while and examine who you are and your place in it. So having like this map to guide yourself through, like a map of the territory to kind of guide yourself through this wilderness that we all go on, the hiking through the mountains, the obstacles, everything that comes up. And the meaning part was like, I was purposeless. I was adrift, and I had nothing to aim towards. And once I decided that, I want to coach, I want to help folks out, that's kind of got me on that track. And it just made sense to incorporate that because people, just from my own experience, like alcohol put me in a place of meaningless and despair, and, nothing was, I definitely wasn't happy. Right. But it was beyond, the opposite of happiness and joy, people think is sadness, but it's apathy. And it's like this gray, numb place of just nothingness. It's like on this beautiful, bright, sunny day outside, all you're seeing is just gray, and my whole life was like that at one point. And so, having meaning, having drive, having something to aim towards really kind of inspired me. And that's what I wanted to incorporate into the coaching aspect as well.
Yeah. And so what's next? What are some of the big dreams you might have coming up for us?
Yeah, I'm going to continue. Like, I'm just kind of getting started with the coaching as far as in both my own like private practice and with This Naked Mind as well. So I'm excited to see kind of where both of those lead. And I also I got some things going like personally aside from coaching in Virginia, got some farm and land and stuff. And we got, friends that are already there living on the farm. So we got this hillbilly hippie commune thing going down in the mountains of Virginia. And that's also something that has given me even more meaning and something to work towards, and family and friends and community and connection, which is so important. And especially on, with folks that are trying to leave alcohol behind, because they're already facing an uphill battle, like right off the bat of, cultural conditioning, societal stigmas, and even like friends and family, and their own thoughts, because it's just something that's been enmeshed in their mind, that they don't know how to like go about it. They think they're going to be ostracized or seen as weird, or not invited to parties anymore, and that kind of thing. And so like community and connection is utmost important. And like I kind of have that physically to go to as well, which is something that I'm looking forward to, and hoping to prosper there as well. So yeah, that's what's in the works right now. And I'm just I've been a day by day guy for a long time, but it's kind of something I know I need to like get a little more forward planning sometimes. It's been to my detriment every now and then, but yeah, that's what's in the works right now.
Great.
Yeah.
And then the final question that we ask,
It's a very tricky one.
yes, is do you have a favorite alcohol-free drink
And you can have more than one. That's
that
okay.
you turn to if
Sure. I'm very basic as far as that goes. I'm just a straight up club soda and lime kind of guy. If I'm out at the bars with folks, normally it's shifting a little bit, and y'all probably have seen it too. Like a lot of places will start having an alcohol-free drink list and like legit stuff,
yeah.
not just the no duels like that they got to
Right.
blow the dust off of. It may or may not be cold, right? So like I was out at a place in Memphis, and they had like they were trying right with their drink list. There was a place in Colorado, not Colorado Springs, Steamboat Springs, where I used to live. That one drink they had was called the Beat Down Sour, and that thing was awesome. Like some places like that joint, Yampa Valley Kitchen, they had every cocktail they had could be done as an alcohol-free option, which I thought was great.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, and it was still the same price as
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
You don't necessarily save money going that route, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't save any money whatsoever. But there's some things like hop teas. I think Revival was one, and Hop Lark is another company, and I came across them one time, and they kind of blew my mind. They were like, it's like soda water, but it's got a hop flavor to it. And
Yeah.
like, this is really good. But yeah, my go-to is just
There you go.
club soda and lime. And especially if I'm out at a bar or something, like that's usually just, I don't even care to like, it's almost a waste of time to look through the mocktail menu or whatever. Just because beers are loaded with carbohydrates, like the non-alcoholic stuff is far more exceeds than the regular ones. And then, I like non-alcoholic wines are basically just grape juice. And I don't know. It never was a thing for me. Like I never felt like I needed to have that. So yeah, just club soda and lime basically is always my go-to. Yeah.
Great.
Simple and inexpensive. Two good things.
Really appreciate you coming on. And Matt, do you have anything else we want to ask Cole today?
Where can people find you, Cole?
Yeah, mapstomeaning.com is my website. I have bio and coaching packages. I have my 7-day free journal course, just like a basic kind of intro into journaling that I'm really proud of, and I like to share with folks. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Maps to Meaning. And I'm fairly active on there. Every Monday I post a new blog, and this tomorrow coming out is the 4 ways to, actually I wrote it down. I couldn't even remember. I had to write it down. 4 ways to thrive this summer without alcohol. So that's coming out tomorrow, and every Monday I release a new blog post if people are interested in that.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And like I've said, you have deepened my thinking. You have put me onto different things when we'd have conversations, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then I would start going down those rabbit holes of wow, and how your brain just starts going all these different questions, and you just keep asking yourself more questions and over. And you might think you're a crazy person when you're doing it, but it's okay because you're getting all of this jumbled stuff onto a piece of paper. And so you're just cleaning and clearing out your brain. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And burn it too. Like shred it, burn it.
Yep.
Like you don't have to keep that stuff around because you don't want your grandkids to be seeing that kind of stuff. You know, this isn't like for posterity. You don't like, oh, what was Papa and Mama thinking about in 2021? Like you don't want to know. Like,
No.
like just burn it.
Yeah.
Well, great. And thank you so much. And
Yes.
we will, we're going to be putting this out tomorrow. So go ahead.
Oh, wow.
And we're quick on these things
Yes,
right
we
now.
are. Yes, we are.
He is so quick. So quick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this has been an absolute honor. And thank y'all
thanks.
for having me on here. I've listened to every episode y'all have had.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely digging what y'all are putting out. Like it's great. It's great content, great quality. I'm like, y'all obviously know what you're doing. And yeah, y'all are just just keep putting it out there into the universe. You know, y'all are doing a fantastic job.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Cole. Appreciate you being here. Have a great week.
Yeah, y'all
Alrighty.
too.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, thank you, Cole, for that interview. That was awesome. He's an awesome guy. Really
Isn't
cool
he
guy.
great?
I love his spirit and his attitude. And
he's just
a
he really kind of was one of those people who was like, hey, Amy, have you read this? You should read this. I go out there and read this and be like, oh man, mind blown.
I don't know. When you're talking to him, you don't get any air of like fakeness. It's like
No,
he's just
he is.
here I am.
And if you
Love
go,
me, like me, whatever.
if you go out to his Instagram page, I will tell you, he does these videos where he's on a walk, and so he's just talking to the camera, and he's just what you hear on that interview and what you see is exactly what you get. He is just a very genuine, caring, compassionate person. And I feel so honored that he is one of my friends and fellow coaches. So
He is a great guy.
he is a great guy.
Well, thank you, Cole, again for being on the podcast this week. If you want to feedback to us or be on the podcast, you can feedback at afmpodcast.com. That's feedback at afmpodcast.com.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and make a comment.
Yes,
there.
and share with another person.
Yes,
So
share.
if everybody shares with one person, we have one more listener.
That's right.
That's all I got to say about that.
Absolutely.
All right, kids. Well, that's it for us this week. I'm Matt, along with Coach Amy, wishing you peace and love from the cornfields. And we are
Out.